allow me to deliver some logistical instructions. We will have English to Spanish interpretation. For those who are here at Enrique Iglesias Auditorium, you can get interpretation equipment at the entrance. Welcome to join the event Project Fusse toward a regional payment ecosystem for the Latin American and the Caribbean. This hybrid event aims to present the advancements for the Fully Scalable Settlement Engine, Fusse, a collaboration between BIS and IDB, as the first project within the Memorandum of Understanding signed in Santiago de Compostela in September 2023. Please let me introduce Mr. Anderson Caputo, Division Chief for the Connectivity, Markets and Finance at the IDB. Anderson, the floor is yours, please.
Let me welcome all of you to this spring meeting side event. I'm pleased that to introduce two relevant welcoming remarks by Inter-American Development Bank IDB President, Mr. Ilan Goldfein, and Bank for International Settlements, BIS General Manager, Mr. Augustin Carstens. They will delight us with specific technical conversations on our institution's first joint project, Fully Scalable Settlement Engine, or Fusse. With a deep understanding of the region's multifaceted challenges, we at the IDB have worked to foster dialogue among policymakers, financial institutions, and other stakeholders to develop holistic solutions that address the root causes affecting financial inclusion. The partnership that we are materializing with BIS is a significant step to amplify our capacity to scale and create an inflection point for financial inclusion in the region. Fusse is the first action item from the joint action plan developed by the BIS and IDB to design and implement programs and projects that can contribute to the financial systems modernization and integration in Latin America and the Caribbean. We will utilize Fusse to advance in financial inclusion, convenience, and accessibility for individuals and businesses throughout the region. Our technical teams have been meeting for the last few months with the intention of developing a back-end functionality that can be adapted to multiple types of infrastructures. And here we mean payment systems, security settlement systems, and even central bank digital currencies. Fusse will be a regional public good, open source for regional central banks. We have been also developing a calendar of activities focused on institutional capacity development and regulation. Complementary, we can work with the central banks in the region to provide them with technical assistance focused on fast retail payment systems and related topics. Both President Goldfein and General Manager Carstens will delve into the details of the financial technology, regulation, and institutional capacity aspects of Project Fusse. So with that said, it's with great pleasure that I give you Mr. Ilan Goldfein. As the president of the Inter-American Development Bank, he has championed innovative strategies and collaborative partnerships to promote financial inclusion as a catalyst for sustainable growth, poverty reduction, and social equity. Under his leadership, we are pivotal in expanding access to financial services and products, extended to financial well-being across Latin America and the Caribbean. Please, President, the floor is yours. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. And we also welcome General Manager Augustin Carstens to join the panel, and then we will start with the words of President Ilan.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Augustin Carstens, General Manager for the Bank of International Settlements, BIS, and a good friend and a good partner in this, ministers of finance, governors, presidents of central banks, financial regulators from Latin America and the Caribbean, and all of you joining us today. I'm thrilled to kick off the Fully Scalable Settlement Engine project, our first collaboration with our partners, the Bank for International Settlements, and share our progress thus far. I would like also to thank Bank of Canada for the partnership on this project. This comprehensive initiative aims to support Latin American and Caribbean in increasing their financial inclusion levels and improving financial infrastructure, regulations, and institutional capacity. Before diving into the project, I want to focus on the more general topic on financial inclusion in Latin America and the Caribbean, and why is this a priority of the IDB. It is clear that financial inclusion is an immense opportunity for Latin America and the Caribbean. If you look at the global findex, approximately 1 in 3 adults do not have access to formal financial services. That means, in practice, only 28% used a credit card in the last year. Only 8% store money using mobile money account. This lack of access to formal financial services makes everything in daily life more difficult, from getting credit to buying a home to saving for retirement and others. Unfortunately, this is even more severe for more vulnerable population, such as women, elderly, those are living in poverty. In addition, millions of micro, small, and medium enterprises in our region cannot access the credit they need to grow and be more productive. We need more to make financial inclusion a reality in Latin America and the Caribbean. That's why the IDB champions financial inclusion, ensuring people and businesses have access to and can use financial services, products, and information tailored to their needs. Research shows that the use of financial services can help reduce poverty by facilitating payments, enabling savings to reduce household cash flow low volatility, generate access to basic insurance for health emergencies, and many other examples. For instance, studies show that individuals spend a quarter of their time on digital payments compared to in-person payments. Even for governments, it is beneficial. Digital payments have reduced the cost of government transfers 3.5% annually, or 1.3 billion per year. That's the reduced cost. Finally, digital payments are shown to increase savings rates in at least 20% for households who use more of the digital payments. We believe that bringing people into the formal financial system is a way to help them lead balanced financial lives. At the IDB, we are supporting countries in developing regulations, institutional capacity. IDB has assisted countries such as Colombia, Ecuador, Suriname, all of them very recently. And in Brazil last year, we will assess the current payment system, the current payment infrastructure, the fast retail payment system, which is technically the term to what PIX is entailed. Let me tell you what we concluded there. First, the Central Bank of Brazil issued enabling public policies regulating certain fintech activities in 2018, including payments, and modified the payment system regulation to legally create the PIX. That was first, not later. In parallel, the Central Bank of Brazil used financial technology to create a centralized infrastructure for PIX, allowing licensed bank, cooperatives, fintech platforms to immediately settle and clear financial transactions at low cost. Such innovation created interoperability, transactionality, and supply and demand financial inclusion possibilities. Finally, Central Bank of Brazil developed institutional capacity to implement PIX safely and soundly. So you saw the several steps, and that will help us on where we're going in the future. And the results are there. PIX were able to have now 4.4 billion transactions just in January 2024, 151 million individual users, equivalent to 2/3 of all the population, more than half of the transaction being peer-to-peer, that is, people paying people, people to business, peer-to-B. Transactions are slowly increasing their share to become almost 1/3 of all the transactions. The infrastructure is operationally efficient and reduces cost to nearly zero for the final P2P users. PIX is one example of how infrastructure could create the conditions for financial inclusion and what do we need to think about as an IDB to help. That's not the only initiative we have. We have today what we call the FinLAC that we are launching today here, our brand new financial inclusion initiative that is a complement of what we're doing today with Fusse project. FinLAC will serve as our one-stop shop for assessing the IDB resources and expertise in financial inclusion. It will be the central hub for stakeholders to connect with us, fostering a seamless flow, information, and collaboration. So FinLAC is about network and collaboration and exchange of information. That brings me to today's main topic, the Fusse project. As some of you remember and were there, we signed a memorandum of understanding with BIS in September last year. And today we are putting the MOU into action by launching the first project, the Fusse, Fully Scalable Settlement Engine. The project will offer central banks, and some of you are here, open source technology that will facilitate and enhance payment systems. Developing critical financial market infrastructure in Latin America is crucial for enhancing financial inclusion, financial well-being, stability, integration. However, important are the technological advancements. Alone, they are not sufficient. That is why we are supporting it by improving the regulations, the institutional capacity, and even the financial infrastructure in 3 actions. 1, catalytic public policies, which include a suitable regulatory framework to enable fast payment system. So the IDB will continue to assess the current payment systems and the regulations. Number 2, we're going to work with central banks to enable institutional capacity. This is not a tool for just whoever already has the capacity. This is a tool for everybody, for all the sizes, for all the central banks, and we will help provide institutional capacity. Last, the third one, creating financial technology and supporting market infrastructure to create capital mobilization, foster standardization, and create a path toward integration and cross-border payments. We are developing a basic back-end infrastructure, including services such as micropayments, clearing, settlement, cybersecurity model, everything. Fusse has the characteristics of scalability, modularity, and cybersecurity to to allow for creating a market infrastructure for clearing beyond payments, securities, CBDCs, just to mention a few. These 3 actions will enable the establishment of prompt, efficient, and cost-effective local payment system supporting future cross-border payments. So you see, we are ambitious. We're talking about specific countries, but we're also looking at the future about cross-payment systems. The region then can gain economies of scale, benefit from peers' experience, exchange information, just to mention a few. Fusse can help create markets in countries where the lack of infrastructure restricts their existence. So what next? Well, I will let Agustin delve more into the details and tell us more about it. For now, we will focus as the IDB to enable the payments as the primary activity in our financial inclusion more general topic. We already have interest from at least 6 central banks in the region. So that's a very good start, a very good demand for our work together. I think this is big news. We will later focus on these 3 actions I talked before achieving our financial inclusion objectives. The IDB group will work to offer these actions to countries in the region while also fostering innovation through IDB Lab and financing through IDB Invest. So it's catalyze public policies and regulations, enable institutional capacity, and help create the financial infrastructure. So we are going to work as a group at IDB. We're going to work together with the BIS, and I think we can build together Fusse and the future of financial inclusion together. Cheers, and thank you.
Thank you very much, President Goldfein. It's a pleasure and an honor to be introducing and giving the floor to Mr. Agustin Carstens. BIS leads the technology component of the 3 actions that President Goldfein just mentioned.
Well, good morning, all of you, ministers, governors, friends. Allow me to say a few words in Spanish. I don't have often the opportunity in Basel to speak in Spanish, so I don't want to forget it. But es un placer para mí estar aquí en el BID, en este auditorio de Enrique Iglesias. Me siento en casa, entonces, pues, y me da todavía mucho más gusto tener la posibilidad de colaborar activamente con el BID en temas muy importantes para la región. Entonces ya con eso, I go back to the universal language, which is English. Thank you very much. So let me just reiterate that I'm delighted to be here, sharing the stage with my very good friend Ilan, in the context of this ambitious and important collaboration between the IDB and the BIS. The topic at hand, the modernization of payment systems and digital financial infrastructures, is a critical stepping stone to the digitalization of finance and of the economy. And more broadly, it will help to support economic growth and development in the region, as Ilan described. In recent decades, advances in digital technology have transformed people's lives. The financial sector is no exception, yet we find ourselves at a critical point in the evolution of finance. The digitalization of the economy is changing expectations about the financial system and the way we need to approach the provision of financial services going into the future. These changes come both from the demand as well as from the supply side. From the demand perspective, financial inclusion is no longer a mere aspiration, but a critical necessity. In this digital age, being financially connected is akin to holding the key to societal participation. Thus, we need to open access to everyone. This means bringing many more people into the financial system. At the same time, individuals with access to the financial system are making more use of it than ever before. This growth will continue in the foreseeable future, supported by the emergence of technologies like the Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, through which people have their devices automatically make transactions on their behalf. Thus, we need systems that allow more people to participate and for each participant to make more transactions. All told, this will multiply the volume of the financial system, the volumes that the financial system needs to settle, not every day, every second. From the supply perspective, the infrastructures that underpin current financial markets were designed for a different era. Some are teetering on the edge of obsolescence. These systems, built to accommodate the transactions and dynamics of traditional financial players, are buckling under the strain of unprecedented transaction volumes and the diversification and growth of market participants. Existing frameworks are ill-equipped to handle the velocity and complexity of modern financial exchanges. This creates inefficiencies that ripple through the economy. We must evolve our infrastructure into something new and more sophisticated, capable of handling an increased load securely and efficiently. The dire consequences of inaction in the face of growing demand and the slow and inefficient response of supply are easy to predict. Fortunately, the challenge is still manageable if we start working as a community on tangible solutions today. We need to invest and experiment now if we want the financial system to properly support the digital economy in the coming years. The call to action is clear. We must push for the development of next-generation payment systems and financial market infrastructures that can rise to the challenge. These advanced systems must accommodate the sheer volume and variety of transactions, while also embracing the influx of new entrants and new services that are reshaping the financial landscape. We should forge infrastructures that are robust, adaptable, and forward-looking, capable of sustaining the lifeblood of economic activity through efficient payment and settlement mechanisms. Given the daunting challenges, the size and complexity of the potential solutions, and the need for regional and global cooperation, the BIS has decided to partner with the IDB to harness the competitive advantage of each institution and push forward. The BIS, through its Innovation Hub, is a frontrunner in many aspects of financial technology. Next-generation financial market infrastructures are one of the Hub's 6 key focus areas. And the IDB has a deep relationship with the countries in the Americas region, has powerful mechanisms to support them, and possesses deep knowledge about local financial systems. And also, they have great staff and a great leader with Ilan. Together, we can make a real difference. Our first joint project is the Fully Scalable Settlement Engine, or Fusse for short. This project is a stepping stone that can help countries develop the core functions necessary to build more advanced solutions. If we want to build for the future, foundations must be solid and at the same time ready to support fast-changing conditions and requirements. This implies a profound technological shift from existing models. Fusse consists of pieces of technology that provide expandable basic settlement functions to enable the development of next-generation payment systems and financial market infrastructures for the region and beyond. helping solve the exponential growth problem I have just described. Fusse's functioning is simple. It will receive settlement instructions from institutions or individuals, it will register the modifications of balances, and it will provide proof of settlement in real time. As with everything, the devil is in the details, as the complexity lies in providing these functions with security, scalability, flexibility, and with a structure that will allow it to evolve with the technology and the needs of the financial system. The system will be a module that can be implemented in different jurisdictions with different payment systems. Eventually, it would be able to support other infrastructures that will require the settlement of a broad gamut of digital representation of assets. And also, once the adequate critical mass is achieved, Fusse would allow for the integration of national payment systems, creating an efficient regional network. Jurisdictions could plug Fusse into their own backends. Countries would then have their own domestic structures surrounding the core functionality. This would reduce the potential disruption to the financial sector by just replacing the inner engine of the infrastructures and reusing parts of the existing systems that could be very difficult to replace. The same goes for the settlement of other types of assets that can be represented on similar ledger structures. Securities ownership is one example. As its name anticipates, the system has an architecture that delivers settlement scalability in 3 dimensions. As many transactions as necessary, as many entities or individuals or devices instructing directly to the system as necessary, and as many asset types as required. These conditions make the system a powerhouse for fast payment systems, security settlement systems, and even for the potential implementation of retail central bank digital currency if anybody wants to go that way. Given the scope for Fusse to support the whole financial sector, we need to build and design it considering cybersecurity and resiliency. One cannot think about financial market infrastructures without security being a fundamental requirement. We also need to consider their ability to recover and continue to provide its basic services under stress. Fusse will have cybersecurity embedded from the beginning, including resistance to future quantum computing threats. Modularity will permit jurisdictions to build resiliency through disaster recovery plans to be used during contingencies to keep the systems running. One final technical point is that the system is designed for every jurisdiction, regardless its size. We are using open source components wherever possible and prioritizing a philosophy of efficiency to make the implementation of this module feasible, even for the smallest countries. Let me conclude. I strongly believe that Fusse is a key step in the direction of building infrastructures and adopting technologies to meet the extraordinary increase in society's demands from financial services that we are witnesses today and that will accelerate in the future. It can help bridge some of the technology gaps between countries and contribute to resolving the financial inclusion problems that many of our nations face. The endeavor would also contribute significantly to the economic integration of the region. As both President Ilan Goldfein and myself second, this should be a first step. There are many, once we establish this strong platform, I'm sure that each country would have its own innovation drive to build on it. But I think that there are other fields of collaboration where we can build on top of Fusse and to make really the Latin American and the American regions a leader in digital financial transactions and a much better capacity of the financial system to contribute to growth, to better income, to better opportunity to very poor people in remote areas in our region. So thank you very much. I'm very excited, and thank you, Ilan, for the opportunity to collaborate.
Thank you. Muy bueno, muchas gracias.
President Goldfein, General Manager Carstens, thank you for these welcoming remarks and for your leadership that led to all the progress made over the last months. Now, the implementation of our MOU is an excellent example of the collaborative work between multilateral institutions. On behalf also of the team working on this project, we thank for all the support you have been providing. Now, the teams are working together to get the best of this partnership for the benefit of the region and potentially globally. No? So these are very exciting times indeed, no? And a very encouraging project that for sure will have a huge impact in financial inclusion in the region. So thank you very much for your participation and the welcoming remarks.
Thank you.
And thank you to the teams, your team, the team of VIS. Now it's with you.
The pressure is up.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Let's continue with the agenda now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gracias.
Now, I will give the floor to Mr. Alexandre Tombini, who will moderate the second session of this event. Mr. Tombini is the Chief Representative of the BEAS Office for the Americas. Before joining the BEAS, he was Governor at the Central Bank of Executive Director, of the Board of the International Monetary Fund. He served as Governor at the Central Bank of Brazil, among other managerial positions. Mr. Tombini holds a PhD in economics from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Mr. Tombini, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introductions. It's nice, it's a privilege to be here today moderating this formidable panel with the three governors from the Americas. I should say South America in our case today. So as we heard from Agustin and Ilan, it's imperative that our societies are well equipped with efficient and affordable digital systems for many areas, including the areas of payments and financial services. Their insights reminds us that the institutions go beyond a narrative that what is important to develop in this domain. This is a concrete initiative that open new possibilities for the economies of the region. These efforts are dedicated to a future where digital inclusion will be the norm, and to do this, we must understand the unique realities of our jurisdictions with all their intricacies and challenges. The meeting today, as we already seen this far, is to bring as many perspectives as possible and grapple with the practicalities of our diverse context. The journey ahead demands that we leverage technology not just as a tool, but as a bridge that brings us ever closer to the optimal in a world increasingly digitalized. So I think that's important, the leadership of the central banks in this process, because we know that the economy is going digital, and it's important that the basic means of payments and financial services do not delay the process of digitalization that we have seen so far. So let's listen, and learn from the experience of three important countries in the region. I have here with us today Rosana Costa, President of Banco de Chile, Central Bank of Chile, Leonardo Villar, Governor of Banco de la República, Colombia, and last but not least, Diego Labat, Banco Central de la República Oriental del Uruguay, the Central Bank of Uruguay. So let's begin with a more general question. And so from your experience on the ground, how do you see this relationship that we talk a lot about between developing fast digital retail payment systems on the one hand and financial inclusion? It seems like commonsensical, but of course there are details that only you know and you will share with us today. So the first question is this, and I will start with Rosana, then Leonardo, and then Diego in this order. Please, Rosana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Alexandra. Good morning to all the audience. If we understand financial inclusion as a wider access to financial services, means of payment, saving, investment accounts, insurance, a straightforward link between fast retail payment and financial inclusion is not easily observed. Certainly, higher financial inclusion levels have a stronger impact in a fast payment system, and at the same time, fast retail payment system can foster the financial inclusion of persons and small-sized firms. But necessary condition we have observed for creating this virtuous cycle is to accomplish ample levels of access to financial accounts and services. My country has a good financial inclusion in line with our stage of economic development, with a large influence of long-standing policy of opening simplified account started by Banco Estado, the state-run bank. In an approximately 20 million inhabitants country, 40.6 million have a cuenta root, a sight deposit account that any person with a valid ID can open. This, in addition to commercial banks and new market players, have contributed to achieve our 87% level of access to financial accounts by our population over 15 years old. In Chile, we have also had a fast retail payment system for roughly 15 years. This system is operated by a private institution and processes approximately 2 billion transactions during 2023, and it's a number that is growing, which amounts to nearly 7.5 payments per month for persons older than 15 years. This system allows 24 hours every 7 days of the week transfers of funds, which are immediately available to persons. Although the settlements between financial institutions is deferred, we have 2 daily payment cycles. The contribution or the combination of high degrees of financial inclusion and the existence of a fast retail payment system has contributed to a broad use of digital payment methods in our economy. But certainly there is room for improvement in our retail payment system, and we have taken some steps in that direction. The first one was to issue a new regulation for clearing houses of retail payment system to bring these infrastructures into the regulatory perimeter, because the number of payments that they process is increasing. 76% of GDP at March 2023. Nowadays, our low-value payment clearinghouse system is settling in our real-time gross settlements system with financial safeguards and operating standards at international level. This is relevant milestone for our payment system. There are still challenges ahead, especially on the private sector, such as interoperability. Open banking and payment initiators could be a contribution in this regard. For instance, there are some features of fast payment system of other jurisdictions that ours is lacking and could facilitate a broader use of this system as means of payment, particularly for people-to-business payments. Some of these features are the use of alias and the provision of acquiring services to medium and large merchants, so they could use the existing system for the payment, which in turn would enhance competition with card schemes. This is a task in which the central bank has been engaged and is part of the central bank's 2023-2027 strategic plan.
Thank you so much, Rosana. I think it's important when we see Latin America and South America in this case, we think is a homogeneous block, but there are idiosyncrasies, right? There are preference for cash which are different from country to country. Chile is a country with a low preference for cash compared to the peers. But it's still, there is a positive between digital payments and further financial inclusion, and should say in your case, as you just demonstrated. Colombia is a different case. The preference for cash is much higher than in Chile or in Brazil or in Costa Rica. And what's your take on this relationship, Leonardo, between digital payments and financial inclusion?
Thank you, Alexandre. Indeed, in the case of Colombia, about 70% of transactions are made in cash. So it's a very different situation from the Chilean one. Fast payment systems can help increase the access to and the use of financial services, especially for the most vulnerable. In Colombia, we have witnessed a strong uptake of electronic payments, but we still lack a fully interoperable ecosystem. We have 3 fast payment systems with different rules, standards, and use cases which inhibit network effects. We also have 2 big closed-loop systems with more than 40 million active accounts and more than 2.5 million QRs that lock up consumers and merchants separately in their gardens. Even so, the impact of these developments in Colombian financial inclusion is clear. Today, you can see very small shops, street vendors, or domestic housemaids asking for their payments being made through those accounts, something that was difficult to imagine 10 or 20 years ago. Now, not all the fast payment systems manage to have this impact on financial inclusion. Some design features of fast payment systems seem to have more relevance, especially to be fully interoperable, to offer different use cases, allow universal access, to be free, and at least to be affordable to the users. We are moving towards a new fast payment system which can support open, inclusive, yet safe, efficient payments, seeking to foster financial inclusion, financial development, and competitiveness to the markets of the country. We have received very important support from the IDB, and I want to thank IDB for this, in the process of building the new system. And now we are looking forward for the support that we can have through the joint venture between IDB and the BIS.
Thank you, Leonardo. The BIS will be there for sure. So let me turn now to Diego. Diego, you also have a lower preference for cash than in Colombia. I don't know about the comparison with Chile, but what's your view on this relationship?
Just to perhaps repeating some of my colleagues and Agustina and Ilan comments, I think it's crucial. The introduction of fast payment system gives us a big opportunity to improve financial inclusion and to give a very important upgrade in our payment system. So I think it's probably is the most important project in our countries in those years in payment system. I think that for a lot of jurisdictions, this system, the fast payment system, will allow the inclusion of new instruments that allow citizens to have better access to the payment system. I think the case of PIX in Brazil, in the region, probably speaks by itself. But I think that there's a lot of examples outside the region. I feel that in India, UPI, it's a very, very good example, and there's a lot of more. I think it is a very important project. So I feel that a key element of the fast payment system is the reduction of the transactional costs. For example, Uruguay has a good level of financial inclusion, as Alexandre mentioned. However, the operational costs are very, very high. So we understand that the fast payment system would allow us an important reduction in costs, and therefore continue to improve the access to financial services. Just to give an example about the opportunities that technology can give us. Last week, we published a small report that we usually publish. It's a report about the financial advisors. It's a type of license which we have in Uruguay. Well, we published the report. In some part of the report appears a number, a big number about the number of clients of these financial advisors, and a very, very important increase in the number of clients. So we start to investigate and said, it's a fintech who give access to a financial advisor, an important access, and the number of clients increased a lot. There are small investors with this part of this share of the market. It's normally high-income clients. In this case, there's small investors who have access to invest in shares, in bonds, in a lot of things with small amounts of money, and technology gives us the opportunity with very, very, very low costs. So I think that every day we can see examples of improving in the access of the system. Just perhaps, well, just to comment, in Uruguay we are working in implementation of a fast payment system. The implementation of the fast payment system is doing with the industry, with banks, and with another agents outside the banks. Now we have a system working 24/7 with P2P transactions, and we hope to finish the implementation of the P2B in this quarter. Just to mention two problems that I feel that are important bottlenecks on this for our countries. I think that probably the most important bottleneck for us is the scale. Small countries as Uruguay, for small countries as Uruguay, it is difficult to develop these systems. It is expensive, and so perhaps we can ask for resources one time to develop the system. But it is important to understand that we need to continue working on this. So every year introducing innovation, and I think it is a problem for us, mainly for small countries. Perhaps the other thing that it is important to consider is the incentives. I think that the design of the incentives could be more precisely. it is important that each part of the environment have the right incentives to develop, to go out to the status quo. No, I think it's sometimes, for example, the fast payment system, the PICS, it's a good example. At the start of the project, they don't have the right incentives for the bank. The banks don't like this project. So it is important to continue align the incentives to the success of this kind of project.
Very good. I mean, you're touching very important points. One, in addition to this relationship with financial inclusion, there is also the relationship with efficiency. I think there's another channel where digital payments can enhance growth, enhance productivity, reduce informality in the economies of the region. So there are many channels. I mean, we have discussed so far two channels, and you talk about the small scale of countries to develop such an enterprise like this. So I think Fusse is a very good example that we can have a collaborative effort under the leadership of Miguel Diaz and Diego here for the IDB. So I think we will do great things there. So put the countries together and have a collaborative effort that goes beyond Fusse. As you said, innovation is everyday issue. No? Now I have a more specific question, whether you are prepared to embark on new technologies to support payments. I think I know the answer. You already delved into that. The other one is how do we envision the development of your local payment system? You also mentioned that, but I'm happy if you can hear again in a more summarized way. And last but not least, in this block, I want to see how you see Fusse as a tool to help you, navigate in further enhancing the digital infrastructure, which could be used for fast payment system, could be used for security settlement, could be used for the issuance of central bank digital currencies. So I'm going to invert the order now, and then I start with you, Diego.
I think that Fusse could help us in two ways. The first one is just the scale. As I mentioned, I think in the region there's a lot of small countries as Uruguay, so collaboration between us in Fusse could be an opportunity to develop a higher scale project and give us the opportunity. The second one, for me, it's about the role of the central bank as regulators. Most of us thinks that in our mindset we only think as a regulators, and probably actual payment system ask us that it is necessary to do a little bit more, say an extra mile, more than our traditional work. And sometimes we are afraid about this challenge. No, I think we don't see us as a developer in the market. I think that Fusse, as a public good, could give us the opportunity to introduce to these central banks just to go for more, to be part of the infrastructure. As we print bills hundreds of years ago, now it is important to participate in the infrastructure. And I think that Fusse could give us the opportunity to go by this way. I think that Brazil take the challenge to go, the Central Bank of Brazil go for the challenge to develop the system. But it is difficult for us to think in this way, just to be, not to think like a company, no, but in the middle. I think the central banks in payment system must start to think as an intermediate, must think as part of the of the infrastructure.
Very good, thanks, Diego. Rosana.
Both technology and the financial world have been evolving very quickly in recent decades. So experimenting with the use of new technologies is essential for all central banks to continue effectively fulfill our mandate of ensuring the normal functioning of the system of payment and also safeguarding financial stability. In recent years, several central banks have begun playing a more active role, as said Diego, in providing these services, particularly in the provision of infrastructures for the functioning of fast retail payment. But the reasons underlying such decision could differ in each case because all of us have difference at the beginning, at the starting point of our payment system are different. In my country, except for the RTS system, as I said, the payment system is composed of private financial market infrastructures, all of them regulated by the central bank, the vision stated by Diego, and supervised by the Financial Market Commission. For a while, we do not foresee the need for substantial changes in this line or framework. But regarding Fusse, it is an important initiative for all of us. Beyond the technological development of each central bank, this project can be seen as a tool to analyze and detect gaps in the current central bank infrastructure versus more advanced one. It could also be a good opportunity to develop in-house capabilities with a practical approach and a strategical look at technological innovations. We believe the Fusse could help us acquire knowledge in software design and development of payment system, processing of settlement instructions, and other components considered in the project, given the worldwide scalable challenges for the current, for example, RTS system. So it's an opportunity to put our hand in technology, be good regulator, and know what we can do to produce public goods.
Excellent, thank you, Rosana. We're going to go back in the final round on the knowledge part. I think it's very important this project brings about as well. Leonardo, please.
Okay, I think the central banks, as Diego and Rosana said, are changing our mindsets. Traditionally, we have been providers of infrastructure, but for large value payments. In the case of Colombia, this role has been very important. We have been even renewing the securities settlement system, the central security depository, which we provide that to the system in Colombia. So in that part of large value payments, our role has been traditionally important. But what is new is the involvement in retail payments and transfers P2P. And in that front, the role of central banks is changing very sharply. And I think we have to think about that from two perspectives. One is the traditional one of as regulators, in which we have to build new regulations which create the right incentives for the private sector to develop a large part of the infrastructures. At the end, the infrastructures created by the central bank will be only the core of the more general infrastructures that service the population, and the incentives to the private institutions are very important. But we also have to be more involved, and we are becoming more involved in the development of infrastructure by the central banks themselves. And in that process, we face many difficulties. We have problems of shortages of experts' capacity. We have difficulties in the process of procurement. And we have to change the way in which we work in all those fronts. The Colombian Central Bank is committed to innovation in this front. It is strengthening the human resources, has created dedicated teams. It has also several important initiatives. Since 2023, the bank is engaged in an experimentation agenda with the DLT technology, which explores possible efficiency gains in the issuance of tokenized public bonds and wholesale CBDC. With regards to the fast payment system, as I already mentioned, the goal is to enlarge the system, to make it interoperable, to create a unified user experience which enables the consolidation of the system. But we are also working in other fronts, for instance, to enhance our banking services to the government for the dispersion of social transfers. This is a front which is important in our countries, I think not only in Colombia. And we will also expect to make important inroads in cross-border payment leveraging on the national consolidation of the payment, of the faster payment ecosystem. The cross-border payments are very inefficient, very costly for the population, and the role that we can play is extremely important.
Thank you so much, Leonardo. We're closing to our end here, unfortunately, but I still wanted to give final words to the panel. We have discussed the connection between digital payments and financial inclusion, but also efficiency that we're looking for in our economies. We have looked into the technological side, and now just to finalize, I mean, this enterprise between BIS and IDB, it's technology. We have a very strong platform in the BIS under the leadership of Agustin Carstens with the BIS Innovation Hub since 2019, and now with the Toronto Center, Miguel Diaz. So the technological part is covered. Now the IDB bring the regulatory perspective, capacity building, knowledge sharing. So this is I'm looking forward to working with you and other central banks and helping the institutions to deepen this process that we are embarking on. So any final thoughts for us to close the panel on how do you see digital payments going forward and this partnership, how else can it help you? Rosana.
Well, one very important issue we perceive as positive. Any initiative aimed at improving instant cross-border payment to foster the financial integration within the region, for example. Regarding the partnership between BIS and the IDB, the benefits come from the comparative advantage of each institution can provide in this mix. On the one hand, the BIS provides a vision that goes beyond a single jurisdiction and experience in technical testing, and its global scope is complemented by IDB's knowledge of regional payment system and its experiencing in providing technical advisory services. Central banks have different needs and capacities, and this should be considered when designing the technical assistance programs. Then, for Fusse to be successfully implemented, it is important to be clear about the business's case or the gap that the project intends to address in each jurisdiction. Then, technical assistance must be tailored to each case. We trust that if all the countries in the region achieve a common technology with similar communication standards, in turn, this would facilitate cross-border payment and financial regional integration, a big challenge, of course, for all of us.
Thank you, Rosana. Thanks for participating, Leonardo.
Well, this process with the BIS and the IDB will be extremely important for all our countries. The new BIS Innovation Hub in the Toronto Center will allow us to benefit from a process that so far has benefited more the advanced economies through the innovation hubs of the BIS and mainly some Asian countries. But frankly speaking, this is just starting in America, and for Latin America, having the BIS Innovation Hub in the region will be extremely important. But working together with the IDB provides this project a very special characteristic, which comes from the fact that the IDB is very close to our countries. Traditionally, we have very strong relations with them, with the IDB. The IDB is already supporting us in many fronts. I already mentioned that the IDB is supporting our process of the fast payment system in Colombia. So there's the complementarity between the expertise of the BIS and the Innovation Hub in the Toronto Center and the very strong ties that all our countries have with the IDB will be very, very important for the future of innovation in this front in our countries.
Thank you so much, Leonardo. Final word, Diego.
Just as I said in my previous questions, I feel that Fusse can give us the scale that we don't have. I believe that the alliance between BIS and IDB can give us the impetus for this process to happen and to happen quickly. And I think that there's another perspective that Rosana mentioned and Agustin Carstens mentioned too. It's interoperability between the fast payment system of all the countries. And for this interoperability, I think the role of IDB and BIS and the Fusse, it's more important because we need to use the same language, the same thing, to share things to improve this. I think we have a big opportunity as a region with interoperability, with payment in tourism, but with remittances for workers, and there's a lot of things that could be a big improvement, the interoperability. So Fusse could be the key element of this project. So I'm very optimistic on this project. I feel that it could be a big opportunity for Latin American countries to improve the infrastructures and to take the opportunity of the technology.
Thank you so much. Provide the impetus and make it happen quickly.
Yeah.
One more layer of pressure on the partnership, but we will deliver on that. And so thanks for supporting the project. With this, let me thank Rosana, Leonardo, and Diego. This was a formidable panel on this important issue. So thanks so much for being here with us. So we will continue our program with the final activity, which will be the third chat of the day, which builds on this one and gives us the opportunity to hear about technology behind Fusse and the lessons for building institutional capacity in the region. We will have the interventions from both the BIS with Miguel Diaz, the head of the Toronto Innovation Hub in the Americas, and from IDB, Diego Herrera, Financial Markets, lead specialist of Connectivity, Markets, and Finance Division. So Diego will also be the moderator of this final session. So thank you very much for your attendance, and let's move on.
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you to the BIS, and thank you, IDB, too.
Thank you very much for coming. Good morning, everyone. We know this event was a bit early, so thanks, double thanks for coming. I'll try to use your 10 minutes efficiently, and with the risk of being a little bit repetitive, I will try to take the main points that were discussed in the previous panels and try to bundle them together. So we have three situations going on. We have a huge increase in demand coming. We have the actual element that we can no longer see financial exclusion or the lack of access to financial services. And the third one is that most of the infrastructures that we have today operating are not sufficient in order to provide the services with the characteristics that we want them to. Of course, the problem is not about the settlement. It's about the economic activities that underlie that settlement. So if you don't do efficient settlements, you might actually modify certain economic decisions, and that is not the way to go. And therefore, lots of central banks and different authorities are thinking in which ways they can actually develop and replace some of the existing infrastructure. But we face a couple of very significant problems in this line. The first one is these are really complicated systems. These are systems that require very high investments, as we saw with the governors in the previous panel. And on the other hand, this is systemic infrastructure, and this is critical infrastructure too. So it is not easy for a particular jurisdiction to actually give this out to anyone so that they can operate it. And given these problems and the size of the different countries, we have a very significant problem brewing because the resources are very limited. The BIS and the IDB, through this partnership that we're doing, we're trying to solve part of these issues in terms of generating a collaborative effort in which everyone can put into the same basket, and then we can create these infrastructures that could be used as an open source public good perspective. And Project Fusse is just one example of the many things that are being done in the Innovation Hub. So we have next generation financial market infrastructures as one of our key topics. And there are many things that have been explored in the different centers around the world. From the Innovation Hub, Fusse is just one example of this. And we're focusing on trying to fix this problem with settlement. We have three principles within Fusse. The first one is that we need this architecture to be future-proof. So we need this architecture to be able to evolve over time and to bring in all the new things that are coming, both from the technology perspective, but also from the demands that are out there in the market. The second one is, since we're talking about critical infrastructure and systemic infrastructure, we need to be very concerned about cybersecurity and business continuity. So cyber resilience is of the essence. And the third point is that we need to think about a way in which we can make this efficient and sustainable over time. It is not just about creating the technology, but it's about how we keep it up to speed, given the very fast pace of change of the technologies. And let me go one by one in these three elements very quickly. So the first one, in terms of future-proofing the system, it is based on three pillars. The first one has to do with modularity. And we have modularity at two levels. So the first one, the full system is a module itself. So you can use this full system in the back end of your security settlement system or your faster payment system or your CBDC. But I think more importantly is that it could be a module for future infrastructures. So things that we don't know how they will work, but we do know that they will need to settle certain transactions. And the idea is how to generate this module in a way that it is sufficiently malleable so that we can use it for these future potential infrastructures. The second one is that the system itself is a module, but it is composed of very small modules. And this is very powerful from the architectural perspective because you can use the same modules in different ways to provide different services. So think about a payment system, and you have, this is kind of like a Lego system. You have little building blocks, and you can use the same building blocks to build different structures. In the case of Fusse, you can use the same modules to create different functionalities and different processes. Think about batch payments, think about immediate payments, think about delivery versus payment. The idea with this modularity is that you can basically mix and match the things depending on the needs of the particular jurisdiction or the particular infrastructure. Besides that, the modularity allows us to actually update the technologies in a way that is much more efficient, and this is very important in terms of the future proofing. In the past, what we had is financial market infrastructures that if you had to change a little piece of it, you have to bring it all down. And this implies that it is not available for everyone 24/7. With the modularity, what you can do is you can generate smooth transitions from one technology to the next. And this allows for the systems to have the cyber resilience necessary for the purpose that they were created, which is systemic and critical. And finally, these modules can be used independently. So we will just publish today a set of cryptographic capabilities that can be used as part of the system, but they can also be used outside of the system for whichever purpose a central bank might have in terms of digital signatures and so on. The second pillar of the future proofing has to do with scalability, and the general manager explained it very well. We need 3 levels of scalability. First, to keep up with the number of transactions. Second, to keep up with the number of entities that will be instructing the system. And this, you can think about every person having the possibility of instructing a system, but you could even go farther and think about tuples of person and device instructing the system. Think about your refrigerator paying the electricity company a very small payment on your behalf. And the third one has to do with scope in terms of the number of assets or the types of assets that we could settle with this thing. So if you modify the ledgers in the back end, the settlement functionality is more or less the same. The final part here is the technology and the operation. So we're using distributed technologies. This does not mean DLT, but we use distributed technologies with centralized operators in order to make this thing more efficient, but also reliable with the distribution of the technologies. And not just this, but the ledgers are sufficiently generic as to be able to represent either cash or other types of currencies or even other types of assets that we have not thought about now. Think about real estate, think about other types of assets that can be represented in a ledger and that would need settlement. When you mix modularity, scalability, and this type of distributed technology, you get a system that can evolve over time with the technologies and with the need of the system, of the financial system in general. The second element is cyber resilience, and cyber resilience is also very fundamental because of the criticality of this type of systems. We have embedded 3 elements that are very important: confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the information and of the systems. And we have tried to embed this since day one. Since the design of the system, this was something that was in the back of our minds, trying to create something that could deliver a service that eventually could provide a fundamental service for a society. We're thinking ahead, or trying to think ahead, in terms of cryptographic services that are quantum-proof, resistant to quantum threats going into the future, and things that can move very fast with crypto agility, replacing those algorithms that become obsolete because of the new developments on different types of technology. Finally, this type of architecture that we're proposing lends itself to generate the same functionalities with different technologies. So think about fulfilling a particular payment with a completely different set of technologies in the back end. So if one of your technologies in which you are operating gets attacked by a particular external entity, you could switch to your other infrastructure, and this is what, from a technical perspective, we call non-similar facilities. And also the distributed element of our technology gives a lot of cyber resilience to the system. Now, how do we make this sustainable over time? So as we heard, not all the jurisdictions have the sufficient resources to develop all by themselves. I think no institution has the resources to develop all by themselves. And this is why we're trying to use as much as possible open source components that are out there. And this means databases. This means very basic architectures that are necessary to build new technologies on top. The second one is that we are designing the system so that it could be a platform on which different entities can start building different modules and can create a different flavor of the same infrastructure. All of these in a framework in which we are trying to generate collaboration. I think this is the essence of the project, to generate this collaboration and to present this as a public good for all the institutions and the different jurisdictions around the world, to bridge the gaps between those that have the technologies and those that need the technologies to provide basic services for societies. And we're trying to generate also a community of IT-oriented individuals within the central banking community so that this type of technologies and this type of know-how can start to permeate on the different jurisdictions, because this is a complicated new world, and this is information that is not easily available for everyone. With this said, let me just share with you what we have already done. So we have more or less 50% of the modules already developed. As I shared with you, we are publishing today a couple of cryptographic functionalities that would be available. This is quantum-resistant functionalities for digital signatures and digital verification of signatures that would be open to whomever needs them. And we have created these technical workshops that are open to any central bank or any other authority, in which monthly we are talking about one different technology on the system so that we can generate this community. During the first quarter of 2025, we will generate the integrated system functionality. We will have the full quantum-resistant suite, including a couple of additional aspects, and we will have the basic monitoring that would allow an operator to actually play with the system, and so on. So the BIS, the IDB, and the Bank of Canada are right now welcoming contributors. Our idea is to generate this co-development and to make this truly a community effort through exchange of technology and through elements of co-development. And with that, I close and I give the floor to my friend Diego that can explain the third part of the system and a detail on how to join.
Thank you very much, Miguel. As Miguel was commenting, we are making this partnership a reality through complementing our capacities. I wanted to mention first that we have been working already with central banks all across the region in developing their fast retail payment systems, which is the jargon that we use to define the systems. We already have been running studies. Today we're going to publish a study too on digital payments ecosystems for 10 countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. We invite you over to take a look at it. If you have your cell phone here or in the screen, just click that QR code. You're going to have that available today at 11 a.m. What we did there is what we do in practice. When we go to countries, we sit with the central banks. We create public-private dialogues. What we do is we check at least 3 vectors, which include the infrastructure itself, the financial system architecture, and we also run the institutional capacity, and we analyze how public and private sectors can create a dialogue where we can find synergies. Sometimes what we found in many of the countries where we have worked with is that so many solutions can come just from a private dialogue where private actors can sit together and find solutions. And then when we cannot find solutions in the private sector, then it's when the public sector intervenes. So that's what we are thinking of. We are thinking also of a payment system when we don't only have the central bank as an actor, but we will also have other actors and the free flow of information through open data. And that's something that we are also working with some of the jurisdictions in the region. As you can see in this diagram, it's a very simple diagram. What we're trying to do is to get all the financial consumers, including consumers like individuals, but also enterprises, sharing their data and using the fast retail payment system as the infrastructure, the road where they can get all this information flowing, and getting from that information a financial profile, for instance. There's something certain, all of us here, we make payments, right? We know that in the long term, as Ken said, we're going to be dead. We pay taxes, but I will add up that we make payments. Everyone here pays, right? Same happens in the country, so that information is going to be useful for creating profiles. And then we have like 3 main drivers that we've been working through, mixing payments and open finance, which is access to data, portability. That means that you can move your accounts within the system. And the last one, and the most important, and the motto for my team, Ana Maria is laughing because
that's our motto. Interoperability is the word we go to bed with and the one we wake up with every morning. It's the key word in these systems, and we are working also in developing frameworks for interoperability in the countries. With the partnership, as Miguel was commenting, this is another QR code that can be useful. We already mapped the fast retail payments in the region with the idea of having the regulations compelling one stop place, and you can see that in this link there. We have also regulations for other types of activities such as crypto assets, regulatory sandboxes. You can access this page, but for the case of fast retail payment systems, we have only 6 functioning fast retail payment systems in the region, and we expect that to increase because as the president of IDB, the general manager, and the governors that we're talking here today, all of them have a thing in common, and it is that payments is a door for financial inclusion, and so we think at IDB. So for the Fusse project, what we're doing is complementing exactly what Miguel was saying. We see 3 blocks building this project. The most important in terms of having everything put in place is technology, but then we have 2 more blocks, which are institutional capacity building and public policy. To that extent, what we're doing is complementing each other, and we are working with central banks. We're already working with central banks in the region, as I mentioned, building the institutional capacity through training. We have, for instance, a partnership with University of Cambridge for many topics, including open finance and payments, but we also bring consultants ourselves with our own experiences. And in the side of public policy, we sit with the governments and we dialogue with the governments. We create public-private dialogues to create the regulations that adapt to the financial and legal architecture of each country. We don't believe in formulas. What we're doing to support countries is payment system assessments, analysis on payments regulation, including the delivery of the regulation, and institutional capacity development. And one of the topics that Miguel touched base was about the working group. So what we're planning to do is have like 2 different tracks, one super technical track focused on the technical people that are going to work with Fusse in terms of developing the project, but also we will have, let's say, more general track where we will talk about topics such as CBDC, payments in general, and so forth, that will be more focused on the policymakers within central banks and financial regulators and supervisors. So we understand that the institutional capacity for payment system relies on these 3, which is the legal and institutional architecture on the one hand. Secondly, the human talent, and that's why we're building the institutional capacity. And last but not least, obviously, as I mentioned before, technology. We just wanted to show you what we've done. For instance, Dr. Tatiana is here. In Ecuador, we've worked intensively with the Central Bank of Ecuador in diagnosing and understanding what is going on with their payment system. They are making decisions now based on what we did. We have also worked with Colombia, and I wanted to tell you this. This goes beyond just understanding the technology or issuing regulations. It has intricate relationships with law. Sometimes you have to analyze even the branding of the system. So those type of things is what we are doing in countries. We are also working with Suriname. Tomorrow at 2 a.m. I'm gonna take a flight to Suriname to talk with the central bank precisely on these topics, and we are trying to help them out. And they are one of the countries who are interested in working with us at the Fusse project. Before closing, we just want to make this call for action. There's going to be a requirement in terms of full-time equivalent to work with the technical side of Fusse, and we are open to receive any central bank of the region to work with us. The interest that was mentioned of 6 central banks is a fact. We expect to have some more, but the fact is that we will invite you all over, all the central banks and the financial regulators and supervisors, to be there with our seminars, to be there with understanding what's happening, and the idea is to create a public-private dialogue in the end that will benefit the payment systems in the region. So with that, I think we close, and we are very happy to have the partnership with BIS. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diego and Miguel. We have reached the end of the event. We want to thank all the participants and presenters. It has been a truly enriching event for the region. There's no doubt that there is immense work to be done in the future, and we hope to be able to respond to this challenge. Thank you very much, and have a good morning.